pretty good, smart guys like this to do the full-time work,
Exactly.
and that's been rounded.
But doing, we say, okay, that sounds good.
That's not right. Hey, how are you?
Good, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good morning, everyone. It's time to call a meeting to order. This is the Pointing Mountain State Land Authority Board. I'm Lowry Snow, one of the co-chairs. We welcome you here, welcome board members that are assembled here, welcome board members that have joined us virtually. Welcome those in the room with us here, as well as public who may be joining us virtually as well. This is time and place for our meeting this month. With that, I want to excuse, at least for a few minutes, Representative Tusher, who is the other co-chair. He'll be joining us, but perhaps a few minutes late. Special welcome this morning to Jeff Landward. Jeff, really nice to have you here. Jeff has been appointed interim commissioner of higher ed, who replaces our former member, David Wolstenholme. He is the representative of the Utah System of Higher Ed on this board. Our friend David recently stepped down as commissioner. He couldn't be with us today. So in one of our future
Recording in progress.
in one of our future meetings, near future meetings, we will recognize him for his valuable contribution to this board. And in the meantime, Jeff, if you have a chance to talk to him, let him know that we'll do that and he's missed. But we welcome you and look forward to having you a part of this board. The higher ed representation is a really significant part, I think, and I think the board does believe of the work that this project is doing and will have impact in our higher ed community. So the next item on the agenda is to allow public comment. As we typically say, we remind everyone that this is a public project and we feel as a board an obligation, responsibility to make sure that the work that we do reflects public values, and we also allow input from members of the public. In fact, to date, some 16,000 Utah residents have shared their priorities and ideas and their feedback for this project, and that has been used to guide our planning. So with that, let me turn to Muriel and see, do we have anyone who's online who's indicated an interest in speaking? Excuse me. Oh, if you have joined us virtually and you would like to make a comment, we need to have you indicate with your virtual hand raising. Okay, I think no one here no one virtually attending wishes to speak. Anyone here in the audience, no one raising their hand or coming forward. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. You have all received the minutes of our August 15th board meeting. I've had a chance to review those. Chair would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. This is Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. Motion is made by Ryan to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
That's a pretty close tie, Mayor, and with Senator Stevenson, but let's go with the Mayor, Ramsey. Is that okay, Senator?
I would wait my particular stuff.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of our meeting August 15th, 2023. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. The next item on our agenda is to review their fiscal year 2023 audit report. We're pleased today to have our state auditor, Auditor Dougal here, along with Jason Allen and Caleb Crump from his office. we're honored to have you here, Mr. State Auditor, and we welcome you and your team members.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you, and we appreciate the engagement we have with you and your staff. So I will turn the time over to my team. I have with me Jason Allen, Engagement Manager for this agreed upon procedure, and Caleb Crump, who was the in charge. So
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Auditor.
Thank you, Auditor Dougal. Thank you, Point of the Mountain Land Authority, State Land Authority. We appreciate the help we have received from Alan and Don as we performed our agreed upon procedures engagement. Due to the volume of activity at the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority, we considered a agreed upon procedure engagement to be sufficient for the needs of the authority. An agreed upon procedures engagement involves the performing of specific procedures that the authority has agreed to and acknowledged to be appropriate for the intended purposes of the engagement and reporting on findings based on the procedures performed. We did not conduct an examination or review engagement, which would have us express an opinion or conclusion, and accordingly, we do not express such an opinion or conclusion. The procedures we performed, we looked at various non-payroll transactions as well as payroll transactions to make sure they were in line with the authority's policies and procedures and were consistent with the authority's purpose. We found no exceptions as a result of these procedures, no problems. Once again, we had a lot of help from the management team, and things went really well.
Thank you. And forgive me, you're Josh, right?
I'm Caleb.
Jason. Okay. All right. Please proceed.
Tend to next year, as we go through, we understand that the authority is going to be doing some loan activity. And we saw $149 million of loans from the infrastructure fund that are planned and have been approved. And so with that, for fiscal year 24, the current fiscal year that we're in, and the increased activity of the authority, we're looking to do an audit next year, which would involve creating financial statements, preparing financial statements on the management side and getting that, and then would come in and do the audit. We understand, we'll work with the timing. So it's a little bit more elevated process that we do, a little bit more thorough with the financial statements that we have, or to opine on the presentation of those financial statements. And we can work with you over the next year to help get that rolling and meet your needs for the deadlines that you have, and to meet our needs. So we'll be working with you as the chair, co-chairs, there'll be a little bit more involvement, or discussion, and looking at the risks that are associated with the presentation of the financial statements, and as the entity as a whole, as it continues to grow. And so we look forward to working with you on that, and just wanted to give you ample time to prepare for that, as time flies. So June 30th will be, even though it seems like we're just finishing up, but it'll be here before we know it. So we'll just work it into the schedule and kind of work with you on that. Yeah, then this is Jason Allen with the engagement manager with the office in the state office. Any questions? Anything that you have for us?
Any questions for Jason or Caleb? Let's go to Senator Stevenson.
A lot of places, you hear the word audit and sometimes you get a little nervous. I've been fortunate enough to be in either local or state government now for going on a half a century. And I will tell you that working with auditors has always been a pleasure because they've given us a point to where we need to make changes. And all audits haven't gone like this one. There have been organizations that I've been tied to that have had to make some rather drastic changes. But I think if you think about it in a context of trying to get things done right, then the audit situation is really a good place for us to make sure that we do those checks and balances on a fairly regular basis and look forward to having coming back. I didn't know this. I've been working with the governor's office. We have quite a few of these land use authorities across the state. And I've been working with the governor's office because I've been involved with the formation of the three big ones that we have, which is the Inland Port, the Pointed Mountain, and MIDA. And I will tell you that it's an absolute must that we stay and continue to work with auditors and continue to have audits. And then I have another little responsibility that I work with is the State Alcohol Commission. And that's been a big one, but we can certainly run all those organizations. We can run them right with the help of audits. We've got really good, competent people that run the organizations. They do well. We're kind of looking at some of these land use authorities. A lot of people don't know, but I think there's 22 or 23 land use authorities in the state of Utah. Certainly none of them as large as these three. In fact, these three, I'm sure, are larger than maybe the rest of them put together almost. But it's important that we keep moving down this path. We keep a relationship to where you can make recommendations and we understand the importance of those recommendations and make the changes necessary to keep all of these organizations functioning the way that they should. So it's a pleasure to have the auditors come in, look at things. It's really a pleasure to have an audit report like the one you just gave us. We're very thrilled with that. So Auditor Dougal, if you'd carry on the way you have been, we've looked at a lot of things across the state of Utah and you've been instrumental in that. And it's very much appreciated. And that's one of the key components why this state's in the condition that it's in. Why we are number one in so many areas is because we have good procedures and we're not afraid to act on better procedures. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Our Director, Alan, would like to make a comment.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the State Auditor's Office. You've been very professional through all of this, and we appreciate the partnership and the guidance. Thanks to Don as well, our Director of Operations, who's not only helped with the audit, but helps make sure that we are complying all along the way. But I also want to thank Ryan Starks and his team at GoEO. They've been just fantastic partners in kind of helping with the bookkeeping and managing the financial statements, and we couldn't do it without them. And so Ryan, know of our gratitude, and please pass on to your team how appreciative we are of all you do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Any other comments or questions from board members? Muriel, any hands up? No. Well, let me just add my note of thanks. I've hasn't served as long as Senator Stevenson, but in a number of organizations, both nonprofit and profit. And one of the real values of an audit too is sometimes mistakes are made not intentionally, they're unintentional, and you can get off track fairly easily. And if those go for a period of time, they become compounded. And so we appreciate that, but we especially appreciate it in our role as overseeing taxpayer funds. It goes really to the issue of our fiduciary to taxpayers and to utilize those resources on their behalf. So we say thank you, but having been a board member of several boards where sometimes we did get off track, having your help not only protects the public, but also protects those who serve. keeps us on the right track. So thank you for being here. Thanks for the report, and good luck on the full-blown one next year. And we will invite you back again. So with that, I would entertain a motion to accept the report of the State Auditor's Office, if one of the board members would care to make that motion. Representative Stenquist makes a motion to accept this report issued by the State Auditor's Office. Do I have a second? Hate to have this die for a second, folks. Thanks. Thanks, Larry. It's been moved and seconded that we accept the report from the State Auditor's Office. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously, and thanks again for your help.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the selection of an arts master plan consultant. So as I think we've let folks know, the public, that public art is going to play a key role in the placemaking at the point. Art defines a location, highlights beauty, stimulates creativity, reflects culture, and attracts visitors. There is great value in incorporating arts into site planning rather than waiting to plug it in after the development begins. We've conducted a competitive process to select an arts curator to help develop an arts master plan for the point. So with that, Don, I think I have your, Don Willie, our operations director. Mike is on. We'll turn the time to you, Don, and let you discuss this and inform the board on where we are.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to report back on this and keep the board apprised of the progress we've made. This has been a great opportunity for us, as over the last few months, we've been able to review and meet with several qualified firms who are well experienced in developing these kind of master plans. And thank you, Chairman, for the comments regarding the importance of this. This is a critical element of building community and creating a place for all Utahns to be able to enjoy at the point. And so we of course took this process very seriously. We understand the magnitude of the impact it'll have in really making this a community that all Utahns and visitors from across the world can come and enjoy, visit, and see our culture, ideals, and our history showcased. So there we go. So just to give some background, we prepared and released the RFQ for the Public Arts Master Plan over the summer in July. We did this through the state procurement site and opened a month-long period for firms to submit their qualifications and their vision for what we could develop at the point. We, through that process, were able to receive several great submissions. Let me run you through the timeline, and then I'll walk you through some of those key elements. Again, we started with the issuance of the RFQ, received, then our committee went to task, and I want to give a shout out to our committee. I'll share more about that, but this is a time-intensive process for anyone who's gone through the RFQ. This is not a quick 5-minute glance at these proposals. These are 20 pages of pretty dense and oftentimes inspiring material. And so we appreciate the committee's dedication. Of course, we've then moved to a interview stage. We took the applicants that we received, selected 3 to move forward to an interview stage, and then offered our notice of award as our final piece. The RFQ really sought to receive from these parties a full understanding of what it looks like to develop a master plan, an arts master plan, for this site. And that includes developing policies and procedures related to curation, purchasing, installation, maintenance, disposition, ultimately as pieces of art wear over time. But it was really understanding, could these firms do all those elements, do it effectively, and we established criteria to be able to gauge that. The committee that oversaw the review and scoring of these proposals included a representative from our office, from Hamza. A Division of Arts and Museum was included from the beginning on this as well. DFCM, of course, and then we brought our development partners as part of the review process, as they'll be working closely with them over the next many years. And so we appreciate the committee for their time in reviewing. We did receive 8 great submissions. Honestly, it was impressive to see the qualifications of these groups, and really represented a broad spectrum of experience, knowledge, understanding, and different approaches. We saw some unique approaches to how this could come together and what it would mean for our site specifically. These are the qualifications that we reviewed consistently with each of the applications to ensure a fair process. One, understanding the project, making sure that they had looked ahead of time. They understood what the point was going to become and what it meant to our state's history, to our state's economy, to our culture. And so we ranked that highly to make sure that they understood what this project was from the very onset, not once it was awarded, but from the beginning, because that influenced, of course, the remainder of their submittal. The scope of work, of course, what they plan to do, their history and experience, the example work that they propose or that they shared from previous contracts that they've been awarded, the team composition, making sure that they do have all the seats filled on the bus to be effective. The timeline, of course, we can get this done. Our proposed timeline would be through October of next year. Giving us a year, but we anticipate that we'll finish before that time. And then, of course, keeping within the budget that we've set for it. And as a result, through that competitive process, the committee reviewed those proposals, interviewed 3 finalists, and has recommended Designing Local, Cincinnati-based firm, to be awarded the contract for the Public Arts Master Plan at the point. I just want to share a little bit about them. We were just impressed with all of these submissions that we received during the interview process. We got to know these individuals, their qualifications more closely, and we're just extremely impressed with Designing Local. They checked all the boxes and then some, and really brought a dynamic working experience. We see in their team a tremendous amount of cohesion and collaboration, which is going to be necessary for this. And then a broad amount of experience. So they have worked nationwide. This will be their first project in Utah, but they bring a tremendous amount of experience, not just with that national breadth, but really working locally. And they've committed to working with other local artists and professionals to ensure that a local voice is heard throughout the process here. They'll also be taking into account all the surveys that we have already done to this point from Utah residents that have weighed in and shared what they'd like to see in the iconic feature and other art features on the site as well. But we were deeply impressed with one particular element, and that is that they view they are planners, they're economic development professionals, and they view art from that lens. And they have tremendous installations, really impressive installations, but they look at it from that community development and economic development aspect of how do we place this in a way that's going to attract visitors, that's going to provide an unmatched experience that is going to create a place where people want to come and shop and dine and play. Of course, bringing an economic activity as part of that. With their extensive national experience, they have great experience in working with local communities and understanding history, culture, values to ensure that that is reflected in the public arts. And so we're confident in their ability to do that, along with working with local professionals as well as they've committed to. And then, of course, just an impressive portfolio of work that they've already completed. And these are just some that were submitted to us through the process. These are not what we anticipate at the point necessarily, but just some of the features that they have already created in close collaboration with communities. And each of the communities that we visited with, who they have worked with, have sung their praises. So, of course, did our due diligence to make sure those relationships were positive, that the art continues to be iconic elements in those communities, and all those reviews came back positive. So I wanted to provide that report and open up for any questions.
Thank you, Don, very much. Questions from board members? Well, let me, I can't resist. Is there, with this company design, it's designing local. Is there one particular feature across the country that they really think, is that one of these listed here that they really exemplifies their product and their work? Anything that they really highlight?
Maybe, sorry, could you clarify that?
Is there a particular project that they've worked on somewhere in the country that they feel is really representative as something that they see as iconic for their product and what they can do?
Yeah, their proposal included several communities and sites that they've worked on. It's a large scale. This is pretty large for any firm. And they've worked with entire cities on installations. And so we feel confident that they're able to deliver for the scope and the size of this project. I'm happy to share their full proposal with our board members. And you can review some of those additional sites that they shared with us. But as you can see, there are quite a few across the nation.
A huge list there.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, that's great. But I'm happy to share that.
So for my information, are we looking at something that is planned for the entire development, or is it going to be site specific, or am I getting ahead of even the issue? Is that something yet to be decided? You understand my question?
Absolutely. So phase one, of course, is the focus right now, but with the intent that they'll look at the entire 600 acres as part of the process. So the last thing we want to do is kind of have one master plan for art in just the first phase, and then have it feel disjointed in the additional phases. So the task is to look big picture. Of course, the most timely is going to be in phase one and developing that, but that it would be cohesive throughout the site.
Thank you.
Of course.
And then for my benefit, maybe some of the other board members and the public too, is the anticipated work that they do and the end result product. Is this a state financed? Will this be state funded and financed?
I appreciate you asking that, and want to give our appreciation to the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. This is actually funded through a grant that we received through them. So we received a $500,000 grant that supports the public arts master plan, as well as supporting the iconic feature, whatever that may become. And so we have allocated a budget of $100,000 to this specific master plan development.
Thanks for that reminder. I remember us having that discussion, and we appreciate GOEO's support in that. That's great. Senator Stevenson has the comment.
What is, if you apparently looked at a lot of things that this company had done, what was the deal sealer? What was the one thing that jumped out and said, this is what we need? What was the frosting on the cake?
You know, the interviews that we conducted with the finalists allowed us to see how they work and how they mesh. So, you know, we had several that were kind of the sealers for us. But there was a an instant understanding of their collaborative nature. With this being such a massive project and so many partners to work with, they've exemplified their ability to work with a diverse number of partners and various perspectives. They shared experiences of being able to take opposite viewpoints in the process and develop dialogue, and to be able to come to a conclusion of what art would look like in those installations, and having community buy-in for it. And so that was a really important element for us. I would just add to that their focus on the view of art through an economic development and planning lens, that was very critical as well. That was a unique quality that we saw from this firm, to really understand how this fits within a development of this magnitude and importance for the state of Utah.
Thank you, Senator. Director Matheson. Let me get your mic.
Great, thank you very much. No, I think just a little clarification. This isn't the group that's going to come in and design the art. They're providing a broader plan, and they'll help us develop the procedures for reaching out to the arts community. They'll develop procedures on how it's funded, what you do when you decommission the art, who's maintaining it, all of those details that I don't know much about. And so I just wanted to emphasize that the art will be designed by probably local and some national artists. And we'll have a lot of voice in what that actually looks like at the end of the day. But these are the professionals that help guide through a process to ensure that we've got in place the policies that, you know, if you decommission it, what happens, who owns it, who maintains it, and all of those administrative details that are really critical for the program to work.
Thank you, Alan. I think that's helpful. And any other questions from members of the board? Muriel, no hands up. All right. Dawn and Alan, this is on for action. Is there particular action, Dawn, that you would like to see us undertake as a board that would help move this forward? Or do we need action? That's what I'm asking.
I think we need action.
Okay. You're fine with that then. All right. Well, thank you for that presentation, Don, and thank you for your excellent work and explanation of where we are. It just continues to get exciting.
Yes.
And I agree with you. This is the art aspect of this is a really important element. So thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is to move into executive session. The board will consider going into closed session pursuant to Utah Code 524205(1)D to discuss progress on our development agreement. This particular section of the code allows us to go into closed session for purposes outlined in statute. We propose going into closed executive session for that particular purpose, and I believe that purpose is covered adequately in that code provision. So with that, the chair would entertain a motion to move into executive session. Thank you. Let me get this, Jeff. I apologize. Thank you, Jeff. It's been moved that we move into executive session by Jeff Landward, and it's been seconded by Senator Stevenson. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. We will move into the next room in closed session. And just as a reminder, when we conclude that executive session, we'll come back out into our public meeting to take up any action required. Thank you.
I wish I could, but I can't see well enough to drive at night.
recording a lot about truth that connects to the
Board members back in the virtual. Okay. Okay, we have reassembled back into open session. Let me just say before we take a motion to adjourn. JC, I always forget, do we also have to take another motion here to adjourn or to come into open session? Okay. I just want you to know that the work that we're doing is incredibly important. Your participation is important and greatly appreciated. And sometimes you wonder whether you're making a contribution. And I tell you from where I'm sitting, you all are an important contribution to this amazing project for the state and for its citizens. So I really appreciate you being here today and joining, whether in person or virtually. I don't anticipate any action or any motion to take action as a result of our closed session. So with that, the chair would entertain a final motion. Senator Stevenson makes motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Second by Representative Stenquist. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you again for being here and for your help and support.